Hello everybody, welcome to the Chensor Dynasty here on twitch.tv/jchensor. My name is James Chen, aka jchensor, your host for the Chen reaction here. And today we are going to be talking a little bit about Guilty Gear StrIVe. Now, I just came back from Frosty Faustings where it was on display, and I got to see it in person for the first time. And I like this trend. Hello, YouTube. I like this trend. But I got to see it for the first time, and it was beautiful. I mean, the game, it doesn't do it justice until you see it in person. My God, that game is so pretty. I can't even process it. I can't even explain it. But you know, the cool thing about watching a little bits of matches here and there, I didn't get a chance to play it myself. The lines were very long. I didn't have a long period of time where I was able to stand in line and actually sit down and get a chance to mess with it a little bit. But from what I had seen of it, you know, obviously it still looks very Guilty Gear. There's still a lot of very Guilty Gear-ish stuff going on in the game. But of course, everybody has already said now that everybody knows that the game is changing a lot, right? The game is changing a lot from Guilty Gear Xrd. Now, outside of Tekken, Guilty Gear has probably been one of the strongest legacy games out of all the fighting games out there. That is saying that if you had played the previous versions, every time you get to the new version, there's less to learn. Now, granted, Xrd changed enough that some people were actually put off of Xrd from, you know, the XX series, right? There's a lot of people out there who believe so much more in XX than in Xrd. But regardless of that, a lot of what you know still worked, right? You could still do Faust, you know, instant faultless defense into instant overhead jump kick off of the 2K in the air. You know, same thing with Chip to end his momentum. Yeah, sure, they changed Johnny's Mistfinder from quarter circle forward to quarter circle back, and, you know, and little things like that. But for the most part, the characters feel largely the same. The things that you did with them before still largely work. You had to understand new stuff with YRCs and everything like that. But, you know, things that you could do in previous games largely still worked in this game. Some characters like Baiken got changed really drastically, etc., etc. But, you know, the characters are mostly, and what you know about Guilty Gear is mostly intact. StrIVe is the first time that they've really decided to kind of throw the game for a loop. And while a lot of people are worried about this trend of simplification of fighting games and trying to make them appeal to beginners, Daisuke has basically said that it's not really as an interest of appealing to beginners, it's more as a interest of trying to, you know, not have it so that the legacy players have such a distinct advantage that everybody's learning things together. There's definitely some changes and some stuff that are going to be new. Like if you guys saw the Faust trailer from Frosty Faustings, there was a combo that looked really weird to me, but Faust did like dash and kick into something else, and it was weird to see that kind of combo because that kind of combo doesn't really exist in Guilty Gear, but the way that the juggle system works in Guilty Gear now is very different. In Guilty Gear StrIVe is very different. You can't Gatling from lights to slashes or heavy slashes. You know, there isn't any of the air recovery anymore. They've changed a lot of things there, right? So, and that's the thing, fighting Feng Huang. Well, maybe we're talking about something kind of different. But in any case, what's interesting to me about this is that, you know, I talked to a lot of Guilty Gear players at Frosty Faustings, and a lot of them, you know, had reservations. They're worried about StrIVe, that it is going to be different, that it feels different and everything like that. And, you know, well, I totally understand that, and I share their concerns. Like if I'm a Johnny player, if I can't do kick into heavy slash into Mistfinder, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Like like how does Johnny even play anymore if I can't go kick into heavy slash? Like that just doesn't even make sense to me, you know? Like that's just like the craziest thing. But here's the thing, right? I actually am kind of applauding the fact that Daisuke is willing to roll the dice, okay? I mean, because here's the thing, and no, I didn't have that plan the whole time. It just came out that way. It it just happens, dude. I tell you, I don't do it on purpose. I don't do it on purpose, okay? But look, you know, I've often said that I feel like Tekken kind of needs this kind of thing as well to shake up the legacy kind of stuff, right? And I'm kind of glad that Daisuke is willing to do this kind of thing right now for Guilty Gear. But what's interesting about this is really kind of the first time the Guilty Gear community has felt this. Because even from X to like the years and years that we played XX through Reload, through XX, through Reload, through Slash, through Accent Core plus R, everything, you know, to Exerd, all the way through Sign, Revelator, Rev 2, etc., etc. The games have always felt similar enough. They've never really had this kind of a shakeup, right? And as a Street Fighter player, we've experienced this every time. Because between Street Fighter 2 and Alpha, you could not have asked for a bigger difference in the way the games played. Alpha 1 was designed to be as beginner friendly as possible. Chain combos, alpha counters to get you out of pressure situation, air blocking, all these crazy things, and people were not happy with a lot of these things, but we played it and we kept going. And in fact, in the Alpha series, Alpha 1, Alpha 2, and Alpha 3 couldn't be more different from each other. But then by the time we went to Street Fighter 3, completely different game. Everything that you kind of knew from all, I mean, fireballs weren't even as useful in 3 anymore. 4 brought everything, kind of blended it together. It had more of the Third Strike style footsies, but, you know, more of a Street Fighter 2 kind of feel. 5 came out, changed a whole bunch of stuff again. So every time we went from game to game to game, it changes a lot. It changes a lot. And here's the thing, right? One of the things the Street Fighter community has actually kind of gotten used to, except for 4, and I don't know why this is the case. I don't know why this is the case, because I know a lot of people love 4 a lot. But the thing about it is the Street Fighter community has been very good about continuing to play the old version of the game. We've been very good at playing the old versions of the game. And I think that is something that the Guilty Gear community is going to have to learn. And this is not me, you know, targeting the Guilty Gear community and being like, you guys need to grow up. But I said the same thing to the MVC2 community. I remember before MVC3 came out, a lot of people on Twitter who are MVC2 players and in social media were like, well, MVC2 had a wonderful run, but time to play MVC3. And my mind was like, why would you stop playing MVC2? MVC2 is like the greatest fighting game of all time. Like, it's so amazing, right? And here's the thing, right? So if you played MVC2 and then you dropped it because MVC3 came out, I think that's the wrong attitude. I think that's the wrong mentality. What you see at tournaments like Frosty Faustings, like especially at like Combo Breaker, right, is old games don't have to die. And as long as you keep playing them, as long as there is a scene for them, they will live. Right? Frosty Faustings had ST, CVS2, Third Strike, Vampire Saver, etc., etc. As long as you love the game, keep playing it. There's no reason to stop. If StrIVe comes out and it is a game that doesn't suit how you feel like you want to play, if this, you just like, this doesn't feel like Guilty Gear anymore, Exerd still exists. Daisuke has even said that, right? He's like, I feel like if people want to play the old, maybe they'll keep working on Exerd. Maybe they'll keep patching that one as well, you know. I don't know if he actually said anything like that, but maybe they would. But, you know, that game is still going to exist. And so regardless of how different StrIVe turns out, as a Guilty Gear fan, especially if you are a Guilty Gear Exerd fan, I don't think there's a reason to stop playing it. And that's kind of the message that I would like to bring. And, you know, it's kind of weird because, you know, I would love people to support Guilty Gear StrIVe to go into the new game. But, you know what? People have their style of game that they want to play. They have their strengths. They know what they like. And if you like Exerd, you don't have to stop playing it. And you know what? It would be cool to keep both games alive at the same time. And Accent Core Plus R is played at a lot of events, right? It was a major game just at Frosty Faustings as well. Play all 3 of them. I mean, wouldn't that be really cool? Just to have Exert, StrIVe, and Accent Core Plus R, you know, all played constantly? Like, there's no reason to stop playing it, right? And if you can show Arxis that your people are willing to support both games, I think that's actually kind of cool, and it sends a great message to them as well. You know, I really don't think that there's and in fact, we're seeing this right now. Right, MVCI has come out. Obviously, MVCI is a strong game, but you know, wasn't was very ugly, etc., etc., etc. Not a lot of people played it as much. Like, it didn't create this big franchise. Well, UMVC3 is making a crazy comeback right now. People have all kind of started flocking back to UMVC3, and thanks to Yipes Battle of the Strongest, a lot of people are going back to MVC2 as well. Hardest thing about MVC2, obviously, is the hardware kind of situation, right? It's hard to find an accurate version of it, but UMVC3, I feel like, is making a big old comeback. It's really gaining a lot of steam right now, and I think that's something that's really crucial to understand. UMVC3 is still, again, it's such an amazing fighting game. There's no reason to stop playing, and a lot of people are going back to it and stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be the situation like, well, maybe Exerd's not going to be the main game at an event because Arxis, you know, their world tour will probably support StrIVe and not Exerd or whatever like that. It doesn't matter. If you love the game, keep playing it, keep organizing the side tournament, be that community that keeps the game alive. The ST community has done wonderful stuff to keep Super Turbo alive. The Third Strike community has the Jazzy Circuit stuff. They're doing amazing stuff with that, trying to keep their own little world tour alive. And it is a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of work, a lot of resources, very tiring. A lot of people who run these side tours do eventually get burned out, and a lot of them do end up quitting because it's so much work and effort. But if you can find the group that can, you know, enough people to help out, and in fact, you know, I had even talked to some of those groups before and trying to make it so maybe they could even team up between ST and Third Strike. Maybe they can share circuits and share materials and, you know, and logistics and stuff like that. But it's not an easy thing to do, but you can do it. The Vampire Savior community, for example, they're always at all these, you know, Midwest events, and they're always doing an awesome job about that, right? Jeff the Hero, right? He's doing all the stuff for Samurai Showdown and everything. So, you know, honestly, I really do feel like, you know, just kind of as a message to the Guilty Gear StrIVe, to the Guilty Gear Exert fans out there, if you really are worried about StrIVe, first of all, give it a chance, give it a real shot, play it for a little bit, and see if it just turns out to be a different but still very fun game with the characters that you love, right? As a Street Fighter player, you know, I love the fact that Dalsum, Zangief, you know, those kind of characters are so different between 4 and 5. I like what they did in 5 by trying to make some of the characters different. Like, Blanca's been the most interesting for the first time in my entire life. I actually don't hate Blanca, right? Like, he's actually really cool and a lot of fun. I like the way that they're changing characters up between 4 and 5, and I think that's kind of fresh. One of the reasons why I dislike Cammy in 5 so much from an aesthetic and from a personal standpoint is because she's so similar to 4 that I just never felt like there was anything really new about her for me to learn how to play with her. I would have loved to have like a change in the way that she played, you know, like Dalsum, like Zangief, like a lot of those characters, like even Mika from Alpha and such. And I thought that was actually really kind of cool. What the hell is even happening over here? Okay, thank you. One thing, I don't know what the hell that was all about. So, you know, I'm telling you right now, again, this is not me just being like, grow up, blah, blah, blah. This is just my honest advice to Guilty Gear Exert fans. You know, there's, like I said, there's XX players that never moved on to Exert, and they're still playing XX, right? You don't have to abandon Exert just because StrIVe comes out. And in fact, events like Frosty Faustings, like CE Otaku and stuff like that, Anime Ascension, they're not going to drop Exert. Hell no, they're not going to drop Exert. They're always going to be running it. And so when StrIVe comes out, you know, and yes, Exer's obviously going to lose a lot of steam at first because everybody's going to jump over and try StrIVe as the new thing. But there's still, I don't think if you are a big fan of Exer, don't stop playing it. Now, you know, StrIVe, amongst other things, a lot of people are worried about is the net code and stuff like that. I know that they've been putting out a survey, and I'm pretty sure everybody's been telling them that net code is very important. I'm sure Arxis hears it, dude. I'm sure Arxis hears it. I'm sure they've grasped the situation. And so hopefully they will have some stuff ready and try to do something, right? Obviously the game is probably pretty late in development, so will we get rollback netcode for StrIVe? Maybe not, but maybe they'll try to pull an MK. Maybe they'll try to change it partway through. Not sure. It's still going to be a while before it comes out, right? They said 2020, but there hasn't been any, like, it'll probably come out maybe after the World Tour ends. Maybe it comes out late. Maybe there is enough time. Now, NRS did do it, Lio, but the one thing that we want to make sure that we realize about NRS doing that is, one, Warner Brothers has a gigantic ass budget, okay? And two, it was also revealed very recently that Warner Brothers, the NRS studio, was worked to the bone, right? And so we have to be careful about those kind of things. We have to be careful a little bit about using NRS as an example of, you know, things done well and such. So, you know, hopefully that wasn't the case. Hopefully they weren't overworked to do the switch during MK10. We don't know what the actual story or situation is behind that, and I don't want to perpetuate a rumor that they did. I, for one, am super happy, and I think NRS is doing such a wonderful job being the forerunner of a lot of things like that, like changing back to rollback netcode in the middle of one game, like starting to do the cross-platform beta and stuff like that. All the one-player content that NRS does. They do amazing, wonderful things for fighting games that all the other companies should be looking into. I just hope that now that, you know, it's been revealed a little bit about the work conditions, that things will calm down a little bit there, and then we can fully just like be in this point where we're like, great, yeah, you guys are awesome, and really just use NRS as the perfect example. I mean, look, you don't have to use GGPO. Just use rollback. You make your own. Just do it well, right? I mean, we have the Street Fighter V situation, which they made their own and they didn't make it well, right? But, you know, obviously games that just use GGPO straight up are, you know, it's a little bit easier, especially now, because you don't even need to license it for any money. It's just out there. You can use it as a basis for your game, and that's actually kind of nice. And there was the NRS GDC talk about how they implemented rollback and all the challenges. That's really cool, yeah. And, you know, I don't know, I'm sure people have, but maybe they've all linked that talk to Arxis already. I'm sure they have. I'm sure everybody's done that already. But the thing about it is, it's yes, it'll be harder to write your own rollback net code than implementing GGPO, but implementing GGPO is not a silver bullet. It's not like, oh, here, GGPO, woo, here's our awesome net code. Like, implementing GGPO is such a part of the internals of your game. Your game now has to support save states. It has to understand how to process the match without showing anything on the screen and rolling it back to where it should be, etc. There's a lot of guts and, intestines and stuff that you're going to have to interact with. So no matter what, implementing GGPO netcode will be easier than just trying to write your own rollback netcode, but it's not going to be easy regardless of how it goes. Yeah, I know, right? Just drag and drop ggpo.jar. There we go. Woo! Pull out delay netcode.jar, ggpo netcode.jar works. And, but Skullgirls has amazing net play because it was designed with GGPO from the get-go. Mike Z was like, why wouldn't I use this amazing, already proven thing through the GGPO client and then later Fightcade? Why wouldn't I use this? And he used it, implemented it. And the save state stuff was really cool too, because he even used that saved state technology in his training mode. He put it in as a feature in the training mode, as did Street Fighter V and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of little extra benefits that you can get out of implementing that way, but it will take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of time. And you know the Riot Fighter is going to have some crazy GGPO because that's the guys who made GGPO making the Riot Fighter. So, but, you know, there's definitely ways to tweak it. Like I said, NRS has done it before. Hopefully, Guilty Gear StrIVe will get that in there. And hopefully, you know, I mean, I think we're probably at a point right now where we're probably 75% delayed netcode, 25% rollback netcode for Guilty Gear StrIVe, just because it's so late in development already, and it's probably not something they can do. But they have those feedback surveys at Arc Revo and at Frosty Faustings for a reason. I'm sure they're getting the message. I'm positive they're getting the message. I'm sure everybody's putting rollback netcode is vital to the game, vital to the game, vital to the game. If anybody's going up to any of those those survey stations and actually putting that the rollback netcode is not vital to the game, it was probably that they misread the question, clicked the wrong thing, or I don't know, or maybe they were just clicking random answers or something like that, because there's no way that rollback netcode is not considered super important for so many people. So but there you go. 25% is very generous, and enmity. I do think that is very, very generous. But you know, we probably would expect to see them, if they are looking into how difficult it is to implement a GGPO thing, it might be something that they pull an NRS, that in the future, a future update to Guilty Gear StrIVe all of a sudden changes it to rollback netcode, because I don't know if they can finish it in time with the schedule that they have, or they delay the game, right? Or the game gets delayed. If the game gets delayed, I don't think anybody would complain if they were like, hey, we're going to delay this game for rollback netcode. And I think that, I think everybody would be super happy. I think everybody would be super happy about that. So, okay, so Arix says in the chat, Arxis knows. When my Daisuke interview quote blew up, I asked him if he wanted to follow up on it. He didn't, but they confirmed to me they're monitoring it. So that is very encouraging. So, but see, here's the thing, Eli Hendricks, right? You can't see it that way. That's one of the things that I want to make sure. So what Eli Hendricks said in the chat is, it's very enraging when they insist not implementing good netcode in their fighting games. Like, they don't know 90% of the fighting game will be playing online. The thing about, we want to be clear about that, is that they're not intentionally going, we're going to implement the inferior netcode. They're implementing what they know that they've been using this whole entire time, and that what works in Japan pretty well, right? I mean, they're kind of stuck in that situation. Japan netcode is ridiculous, right? Street Fighter 4 was rollback netcode. It wasn't very good. And GamerBee was able to play Daigo to train up in Street Fighter 4 from Taiwan to Japan. And then he showed up at EVO and got top 8, right? I mean, that's that's just kind of the way it works, right? If you have that great, amazing network connection, it hasn't been a problem. And what you're basically telling Japan is that what they're seeing is a very limited scope. They have to examine the whole giant big picture. And that's kind of a tough thing, right? It's kind of a tough thing, especially for a country like Japan, which very rarely looks super, like very rarely looks beyond. I don't know. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that because that could be an assumption. That could be a lie. So I don't want people quoting me on that one at all. But, it's probably just not one of those things that they were thinking about for a while. So, I mean, why would they get Capcom's help for rollback? Why would they? Do we not see how the Street Fighter... I mean, there's definitely a lot of cultural issue and pride involved with that. But, at this point in time, I think that that's kind of needs to move away. I think we need to go away from that. I think we do need to go away from that. So that's true. MVCI, you're right. Showbiz is right. Yeah, okay. MVCI did a great job. That is true. They had implemented it properly at that point in time. So, But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully things will be good for the netcode. But, you know, the main point that I want to bring up here is that, you know, StrIVe is going to be a new game. We're going to find new dirty things in this game. And from what I've seen already, the game still looks very Guilty Gear, because it still looks like there's going to be a lot of very dirty things you can do in this game. And there's still going to be some crazy Oki mix-ups and everything like that. I'm sure people are going to find, you know, very Guilty Gear-esque style. And if it's a little more neutral heavy, that's kind of cool, right? We're going to have a game that can bring in other players. A lot of people have been scared to play Guilty Gear because of how complicated it looks, because of how crazy it looks, right? If you can bring in this chunk of players, and if the chunk of players who already know Guilty Gear can come in, have an open mind, play StrIVe the way StrIVe is designed to play, and help teach these guys coming over here learning Guilty Gear for the first time, and everybody can learn together and everybody starts developing new techniques, there is a potential that StrIVe could be huge. And not only that, but, you know, it could be one of those things where they try StrIVe and they're like, okay, I get Guilty Gear, it's not as scary as I thought, and then you could be like, alright, you should try Exerd now, right? And you can have people jumping different directions and stuff like that. It's never a bad thing to get more people to play your fighting game, because it can lead to playing the other fighting games as well. Or maybe all of you just find this joint joy in StrIVe, even though it's a completely different game. The biggest point, though, is that you just don't have to stop playing Exerd. Don't stop playing Exerd. Keep playing the game. If StrIVe is so different enough that it doesn't appeal to you, keep Exerd alive. And not only that, but don't shit talk StrIVe. If the people out there are enjoying StrIVe, you tell them, cool, go ahead and enjoy StrIVe, I'm going to enjoy Exerd, let's enjoy both of the games, right? Don't turn it into a fight. Don't turn it into a combat. I know that this again is the James Chen optimistic wishful thinking thing, but don't turn it into a fight, right? If you don't like StrIVe, then it's not for you. If people like StrIVe, let them enjoy StrIVe. You enjoy Exerd, and you tell the StrIVe players who are new to StrIVe, who have never played a Guilty Gear, hey, that's cool that you enjoy StrIVe. Maybe you want to give Exerd a shot, because they're both great games. You know, just kind of approach it from that point of view, right? There's no reason to have an Exerd versus StrIVe thing. Let's love both games. Let's enjoy both games, even if one is not your cup of tea. Or if you like both of them, even better, right? But, you know, that's just one of the things. Don't be like, Exerd is so much better. StrIVe, they ruined it. It's so scrubby. Like, every fighting game is going to have its nuance, its complexity, its joy, its fans, etc. There are some people who might get even introduced to the fighting game community by StrIVe because of how cool it looks and how beautiful the game is and everything like that. And that is the first fighting game they played. I mean, just like Final Fantasy VII was the first Final Fantasy that many people played, and it has become an icon of a generation of fighting game players. Who knows? StrIVe could be that for some people trying to get into fighting games, you know, and it's the way it works. So let's enjoy each other's games. It might not be yours, and have fun. And like Epitaph says, no reason to be a dick about people's enjoyments. You know, he doesn't like Tag 2, skipped it completely, but he never shit on it. And that's what I've always tried to do. I always try to make sure that everybody enjoys their game and everything like that. So there you go. So that's my topic on that. Actually, you know what? Before I even end this, I really wanted to do a close and careful watch breakdown of Faust's trailer. So, but I'll split that into two separate videos here on YouTube as well. So I'm going to jump to the title, jump back, and then we're going to watch Faust's trailer again. And we're going to try to watch it in slow motion a little bit or something like that, because that thing is just ridiculous and looks so beautiful, and it's so good. It's so good. So let's take a look at this. Oh, but hang on. Ooh, man, my XSplit is so chuggy. But before we go, just want to remind everybody that if you're enjoying the Chen Dynasty, please like and subscribe. Follow at least on twitch.tv/jchensor. If you would love to support the content that I've been doing, subscribe, donate, bits, all that stuff like that would be very, very appreciated. I will not be able to stream, so don't expect a ton of Chen Dynasty stuff for the rest of January, but hopefully in February, everything will be coming back up. Thank you, Tip Top FGC. Much appreciated. Much appreciated very much. And starting February as well, I'm going to try to do a lot of things for subscribers, including existing subscribers as well. So thank you for your support. And if you want to watch the Faust analysis section of this, check for the other video here on YouTube, on youtube.com/UltraChenTV as well. Thanks, guys. And we can switch scenes anytime now, XSplit. Thank you.